welcome everyone, and welcome to this social media and promoting in memory webinar. And we're delighted today that we're going to be joined by Ollie from Christian Aid and the lovely Kelly from St Richard's Hospice, and they're going to share with you their insights of what they've done in this space. So just to let you know, we will be recording this webinar, so don't worry about taking too many notes because you can watch back at your leisure. So just enjoy the presentations. What we will also do is pop the recording on the charity support site in a couple of days, so you'll all have access to it, and especially share it with any colleagues that may not have been able to join today. So with that, I'll hand you over to the lovely Ollie.
Hi everyone, excuse me. It's a real pleasure to be here. This is actually the first time I do a presentation on InMem to such a large audience, so I'm really grateful for your presence here. I'm part of the Legacy and In Memory team at Christian Aid, and I've been here for 1 year doing a maternity cover. And it's been a really special, wonderful year in terms of the things I was able to do for In Memory for Christian Aid, which is an area that the organization is really keen to invest in and grow and learn, and also reach out to supporters who are motivated by the memory of a loved one. So so this is Christian Aid. And for my presentation, I will talk a little bit about why I believe social matters for In Memory. I'm going to give you a campaign snapshots of 3 campaigns that I worked on this year, and hopefully you will see what worked and what didn't for us, and you can take some learnings from that. And finally, I will finish with some practical tips for your digital campaign. So the first campaign I worked on was Mothering Sunday, which is I guess the flagship InMem campaign for Christian Aid. And this year it was the 3rd Mothering Sunday we had. And Mothering Sunday is a very important date in the Christian calendar and otherwise known as Mother's Day. And so it's a very resonant date with our supporters. And we wanted to offer a sensitive remembrance moment and drive in memory gifts. Previous Mothering Sunday campaigns tended to focus on particular case studies. But this year, because it was the 80th anniversary of Christian Aid, we decided to kind of go with more of a nostalgic feeling, open it up in terms of its creative. And so we went with a poem called If Roses Grow in Heaven. And we created a hero film around this poem, and then we created assets around it, 15-second videos, as well as some static assets that we would use on a meta campaign. We ran the meta ads for 2 weeks leading up to Mothering Sunday, and these were accompanied by 2 acquisition emails that went out to our InMem supporters and sort of our warm audience. We also had 1 organic post, and we had a homepage pod that was dedicated to Mothering Sunday. And you can see here the budget that we had and the results. We used much loved dedication pages, and we've used this before for the previous Mothering Sunday campaigns. And so we had 133 dedications, people sharing photos and messages about their mothers or mother-like figures. But we also had some people who came to our website to donate in memory of their mother. So they chose to donate directly to us. The average gift size was very comparable to previous years. And you have here also the cost per acquisition. And one thing that we did different this year is we worked actually with much love with Jackie on this one in particular on adding a GTM tag onto our dedication page so that our digital team could better track the performance of the traffic that was being sent to the dedication page. And this is something that we want to continue to work with much loved in the future for better integration and tracking. And now I will show you examples of 2. So on the left-hand side is the best performing static ad that we had for this campaign. And the right-hand side is the best performing video, which was a 15-second snippet out of the hero film. But you can sort of get an idea of like the nostalgic feeling we were going for it, kind of like old photos, old videos. So then the next campaign we worked on, which was very, oh, sorry. So this is the, I've added also a link to our video on YouTube for the full hero film. So afterwards, once this presentation is shared, you can have a look at the film yourselves at your own time and see, you know, how we responded to Mothering Sunday this year. So then the next campaign we worked on was Father's Day, which was a really lovely sort of test for us. We did a lot of work internally with an innovation specialist on how should we approach this campaign? How should we go out to our supporters? And we came up with the best advice my dad gave me, which we all loved. And so we again use Much Love with a dedication page, but for this campaign, there was more of a celebratory element to it. It was more about remembering your dad in what was the best advice. And this really resonated with our supporters. They started sharing stories about their dads and photos. People started visiting to see what other people had left. And we saw this particularly on Facebook, where people were leaving comments underneath the organic posts that we had. So we had 2 organic posts for this campaign, one of them which was boosted and did really well for us. Again, we ran ads for 2 weeks leading up to Father's Day. Now, the interesting thing about Father's Day is that donations kept coming through 15 days after or 14 days after the campaign, which we hadn't seen this before, not with Mothering Sunday. So Father's Day really seemed to connect with people, and they still wanted to donate and share the best advice after the campaign and after Father's Day. And so here you also have the budget that we spent, the results. We were happy with the results, although we didn't hit our target, but we thought for a test, it was a really great test. And in particular, we saw that the average gift was much higher than Mothering Sunday. So we really feel like there's room to grow with Father's Day, and we're really excited about next year kind of really developing more this theme of the best advice my dad gave me. And now, these are examples of 2 ads that we had. We didn't create with in-house assets like imagery or films for this campaign. So we used stock imagery, and we tested using our brand versus non-branded ads, and we noticed that the non-branded performed better. So we guessed that maybe it just sort of resonated more, the nostalgia element, not having the brand there. We don't know, but this was a test that we ran while the ads were being served. And so finally, in August, we did something also for the first time, which we did an always on campaign for Imam. This was a first for Christian Aid. To save on budget, I repurposed creative from 2 years ago, Mothering Sunday. And so I took that creative, I edited so that it just focused on the message of giving in memory of a loved one. And we had photos from that campaign that kind of were very summary. And so, but they were also nostalgic. So it really fit into that 80th anniversary theme of nostalgia that we were working on this year for Christian Aid. We had to cut short our campaign because of the Afghanistan emergency appeal. And this is the nature of Christian Aid, where something like this happens, we stop everything to focus on the emergency appeal. So we had to cut our campaign short, but we nevertheless, we were quite happy the amount of gifts. We also tested getting some new regular givers. We were aiming for like 3 new regular givers. We got 2, but we were happy with that. Also higher average gift sizes, which we were very happy. Yeah. And the final slide, yeah, these are examples of the ads that we served. So we used COSLAD's images for the static. And then for the video, it was 15-second snippets from the film, the hero film from 2 years ago, which was repurposed for this campaign. So my top 5 tips, use static ads for prospecting in Meta, followed by emotive video for retargeting. This really worked for us. I recommend it for you. Keep in-memory ask exclusive pre-donation. So if you have any secondary asks, leave it only on the thank you page. Don't create too many ad versions. Kind of stick to 4 to 6 core ads so you avoid your budget dilution on Meta. And then different forms and prompts for warm versus cold audiences. And then always exclude recent in-mem donors so you will avoid potential complaints, and just the sensitivity about, talking to our supporters, making sure they're not feeling overwhelmed. And actually, I have a top 6 tip, which is if you are using Much Love dedication pages, populate the page before your campaign goes out. So maybe talk to your colleagues, so that they leave some messages, some donations there, so that once it goes out to the supporter, they don't get to a page that's empty. Nobody has left a message yet. So they get there and they get a feeling it's already being populated, and encourages them to also leave a donation. So that's it, everyone. Thank you very much.
That's great, Ollie. Thanks so much for sharing those insights, and especially that final tip about populating the dedication pages. All my partners are on this call know that I'm always telling them to do that. So thank you very much. I meant to say at the beginning, if you have got any questions, if you want to pop them in the chat box, what we'll do at the end of the presentations, we'll just take some questions and answers. Myself and Sally will be monitoring it. So I think there's one been popped in the Q&A, which I know not everybody can always see the Q&A. So Ollie, it's just a quick one for you from Adam. He's just wondering how much of the budget was spent on the Meta ads.
So Adam, the majority of on the campaign, the first campaign, Mothering Sunday, a good chunk of the budget was spent on the creating the film. And then the remainder was spent on Meta. For Father's Day and the Always On, most of the budget was on Meta. And with the Always On in August, we actually upped the budget because we saw that it was doing so well that we actually moved some budget around, and we decided this is doing so well. But then we had to stop it because of the emergency appeal.
Okay, great. So so any more questions and questions, just pop them in the chat box, because then I know everybody on the webinar can view those. Sometimes in the Q&A, not everybody seems to be able to see them. So thank you so much, Ollie. And with that, I am going to hand us over now to Kelly from St Richard's Hospice. So away you go, Kelly.
Good morning. Thank you very much. Lovely to be here with you all this morning to offer a little bit of a different perspective, I hope, on in-memory marketing on social media. So as Jackie mentioned, my name's Kelly. I am the fundraising manager at St Richard's Hospice. We are a Worcestershire-based hospice somewhere in the middle of the country. Some people have heard of Worcester, some haven't. Think of Worcester sauce and you're there. We care for around 3,200 patients and family members a year, so I would say we're very much sort of a mid-sized hospice. So today I just want to talk to you about what we did in terms of promoting Much Loved for our audiences, and just want to sort of be transparent in the fact that ours was all organic, because being a hospice and that mid-level size, we don't have huge resource and we don't have a massive amount of budget to invest in these things, so which means we always try to look for the most creative ways in which we can do it organically. So this all came about for us after sort of noticing a lack of marketing material, and that there was a little bit of a disconnect between our staff members, particularly in the clinical side, who arguably are the ones that often have these in-memory conversations and promote things like Much Love for us, and actually giving them the tools to be able to do that. So that led us down the path of thinking, right, so what can we do to engage with them and actually create something that we can use both with literature and also sharing on social media to spread that message as wide as possible. So we looked into our existing tribute pages and looked at the ones with sort of higher activity and that had raised significant amounts of money. So as you can see here, the page that we chose was dedicated to a lady called Denise Griffin, and it had raised and is continuing to raise over £17,500. The family are very active. They often do their own fundraising events. So we thought, well, let's give it a shot. We'll get in touch with them and see if they're happy to support us with this. So we did, and the family members were really keen to help. They wanted to share the story and share what that page meant to them and help us to encourage other people to create their own pages. So that tribute page for them as a family, they, very much emphasised that it's a place of memorial. It's somewhere they go to reflect. It's somewhere that they annually donate to and encourage other family members to do the same, which is exactly what we want people to do with those pages. So we got in touch, we created a story, we created our literature, and then we obviously looked to social media to drive that story forward. So on socials, we did this across Facebook and Instagram, I may add. We included a quote from the family about what the page means to them. We used a photo of Denise with her husband with their permission, and we had a direct link to create your own Much Loved page. So when we set about posting this, we sort of tried to align it with the things we already know about our platforms, and when we particularly have higher traffic. As I said, we're doing this organically, so we're trying to give it the best chance that we can. So for us, that was sort of around 5 o'clock in the evening. That seems to be when we had a lot of higher traffic to our pages. So that was when we initially launched this post. And again, when creating the content, we coordinated all of that with our communications team and the family support team to ensure that the tone was right and it felt authentic and it had that compassionate element to it as well, just so everybody was comfortable with what we were actually going to be posting. So on to the next slide, please. Thank you. So this was the actual case study, and this was the post that we did on Facebook. This presentation, will be available, so you don't have to read it now because that's quite a lot to read. But this is what we posted out. As I said, there's a lovely picture of Denise and her husband there. And what we learned was that a post centered on real stories rather than sort of generic appeals, for us personally, generated higher engagement. We have engaged previously with things, and I am just talking personally, I don't know if this is because we're a hospice, but things like Mothering Sunday, Father's Day, we have engaged with that, and it didn't have that much of a result for us personally. So we found that just your generic real life stories work better for us as an organisation. As I said, using real life imagery as well, it seems to capture people and engage with them a little more, because I think it's relatable. Everybody sees it and they think, oh, you can't help but relate to that image. We, as I said, posted at times where we felt traffic was better for us, and we used trackable links so that we could see how much traffic we were driving to our website or to our creation page from that post. And as I said, we just wanted to make the content as sincere as possible, not marketing as such, but just a genuine, heartfelt story as to this is something we can provide that might help you in your journey as well with your bereavement. On to the next one, please. So what we achieved, so from in the month that we actually posted this on socials, but in terms of new tribute pages created, we had 3 directly from the post. So they were people that a lot of the time, people creating Much Loved pages for us have come through funeral directors or directly off the back of a bereavement, whereas the 3 that were created were actually sort of historic bereavements. We had 11 pages created for the whole month versus 6 the previous month. An average for us is probably anywhere between 6 and 8 pages a month. So we saw an increase, which was great. The donations via those newly created pages for that month, so those 11 pages, was £14,654. So incredible, certainly a lot higher than our average monthly return for those pages. And I've just included some stats below on the engagement of that post. So the Facebook one in particular was very well performing for us, which again is something that we sort of know that's where our core audience is. So we had over 15,000 views on that, and as you can see, 161 interactions, 97 link clicks. So we were really pleased with that in terms of the engagement. And so what we have achieved and how we are planning to build on this in the future. So for us, we've found something that we think works well for us as an organisation. It's having those real life stories, and we are hoping to identify more families and supporters who are happy to share those experiences with us and enable us to create more content. We want to embed tribute funds into our schedule for us and look to have at least something quarterly. And we also hope to be able to then actually have a paid campaign around this as well once we have enough content. For us, that was the important thing. It's actually having the content to be able to actually share those stories and engage with our audience. And again, something we haven't really done is looking at other anniversaries, such as we do Lights of Love campaign, that's what ours called. So our Lights of Love campaign, Dying Matters Week, National Grief Awareness Week, just some of the other touch points that we haven't actually looked at yet, rather than just sort of Mothering Sunday and Father's Day, just expanding that out. Another thing for us is strengthening the internal collaboration. So to work with the bereavement and communications team to make sure that everybody's on the same page, everybody's happy, and also encourage people in other departments of our organisation to have those conversations, build their knowledge on Much Loved and feel comfortable in sharing that with family members. And again, just to continue to track the impact really and drive people to that page and see how much traffic we are getting from our activity. So that is just about it really, but just to say, it's, as I said, we are a hospice, we don't have a huge budget, but it's just to show that it is possible, even without budgets, to still drive that engagement and increase your organic reach with Much Loved.
Well, that's really brilliant, Kelly. And it's so great to see two different approaches from different charities. You know, obviously Christian Aid are slightly different with their so we've still got people joining us with people and their appeals, and they are global, and Kelly is in the Worcestershire area, and now I will be thinking all the time of Worcestershire sauce. Sorry, we've still got people joining the webinar. We've got a couple of questions here, so I thought we would just go through them, if that's okay. So one for you, Ollie. It's just a quick question. It's from Helen, and she was saying it looks like the income created was comparable to the cost for running your campaigns. Was that a concern, or was it more a long-term acquisition drive?
So, thank you, Helen, for the question. So it was actually more for the long term, really. So the campaigns this year, they were tests, really, so we could innovate the in-memory space for Christian Aid and test supporters' journeys, so we can increase our return on investment in the longer term. And we know that Christian Aid supporters who give in memory, they are 3 to 5 times more likely to leave a legacy for us. And so this is where InMem sits really beautifully within legacy at Christian Aid, where we are offering something to our supporters, we're giving back to them, we're offering that space, nurturing them, and we know that that's part of their journey to then leave a legacy for Christian Aid.
That's good. And while I've got you, Ollie, there's just a couple more come through for you, and then we've got a couple for Kelly, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Ollie, what kind of audience did you contact via the email? Do you think the email promotion got much traction, or do you think most of the engagement did actually come from the socials?
So email is very crucial. So when the emails landed, the donations went up. We went there's so many different campaigns going on at Christian Aid, so it is that fine balance of the audiences we can go to, but then also the other campaigns that are happening. But we then tend to go towards our warm Imam supporters. They've given before, or they've pledged. We sort of segment the data towards these warm sort of audiences that we know are likely to give in memory, and then we see a spike in donations during the campaign period when the emails go out.
Brilliant. And just one more for you, Ollie, I think. Was the call to action specifically to make a dedication or make a donation in memory, or both? So did you consider having a call to action for tribute pages, or do you think this would be more difficult with socials?
Tribute pages is, I think, an area that we would love to develop and grow, and perhaps eventually run also campaigns, meta campaigns on them. But for this past year, we really wanted to test the Mothering Sunday was the third year, so it was already something well established, and we wanted to grow that one. Father's Day was a test for us to see whether there was an interest on that particular date as well in giving in memory of a father figure. And then the Always On campaign in August was also a test for us. It's something we hadn't done before. But tribute pages is definitely an area that we would like to explore, but we haven't done so yet.
Just a bit of learning I know from Father's Day pages, they never seem to get as much interaction as the Mother's Day pages do. I don't know what it is, poor old guys, but it's it's just I often notice that actually Mother's Day do much more interaction and donations and lovely messages than Father's Day. So it's really interesting to hear your approach to Father's Day campaign, because I'm sure there's lots of learnings for other charities to do.
I would suggest that charities find the time internally to develop the concept that they want to go out to the supporters. And so really think about, testing, doing workshops internally before they then decide on the creative route, so that I think it's a higher chance that it will resonate with their supporters rather than it being sort of a generic campaign that sits alongside other campaigns that kind of sound the same.
Yeah, great advice. And Kelly, I've got one for you from Georgia. She said, when approaching the families for stories or their images, how do you go about this with compassion in mind? Do you continue to update them on how the campaign is going post the initial contact?
Yes, so with this one, that's why I think it's really important to get the right family. So we did look into a lot of different families that have created pages, and actually we didn't have much engagement with this family prior to that, but I think we could see how engaged they were with the tribute page. So we sort of had a sense that they would be quite keen and wouldn't necessarily be offended if we approached them. So we have a communications team, and that our communications manager sort of made that ask in a sensitive way, and we then kept them informed the whole way through, so nothing was posted without their consent. We made sure they were happy with everything we'd written. We were very much led by them. Any imagery they sent to us, just as I said, just being sensitive and keeping them at the forefront of it really, and letting them lead us as to what they were comfortable with. Afterwards, we also checked in with them again and let them know the results of the campaign and pretty much the stats that I've just given to you guys, really. And they were obviously really pleased that they feel they're able to support us beyond just donating via that tribute page, but actually helping us to grow for the future as well. So it was really important to them as a family. But I'd say, as I said, you just have to gauge whether they may be the right person based on how engaged they are with you as an organisation.
Yeah, thanks, Kelly. I've just popped into the Q&A box because I could see a couple of questions there. And just another one for you, Kelly, from Katie. She said, do you have the same success with dedication pages organically on social media? I'm not sure if you've done campaign with dedication pages.
No, so we use the dedication pages for our Lights of Love campaign, which we do organically, but it's a slightly different thing in that we do promote it, and it's very successful for us. So that's sort of our online element of that appeal, which already has its own following. But what I would say is we trialed it before with dedication pages for things like Mother's Day and Father's Day, and that was organic, and we didn't have a massive return, to be honest. I think that question's for me as well about Lights of Love. No, it's not year round. It happens in November and December. So we launch it at the beginning of November throughout till December. So we have a physical service and light switch on, but we also, those names that are dedicated via Much Loved, we also then put on display at our physical light switch on. So we kind of have that two elements to that event. It's a mailing and paper audience, but also an online audience as well, which we use the dedication page. So which Jackie, you pointed out that before we came on to do this, that we've had great success with that this year. So
yeah, it's a lovely page. It's really lovely, and I love how, you know, the journey for your supporters and the consent box for putting their dedication in the Worcester News. So that's really good.
Yeah, so it's, as I said, organically. For other important dates, not so much, but for that one, yes, definitely.
Brilliant. So is there any more questions? Oh yeah, Nicola, she is asking you, Kelly, could she see a copy of the Facebook post to promote the tribute pages? I mean, that is in your presentation. So Nicola, when you look back at the webinar that we're going to add to the charity support site, you'll be able to see Kelly's whole presentation, including the Facebook post, if that's okay. And Adam, I think this might be a general question. Do you find that organic posts perform better with clear call to action or ask around setting up pages? Or do you think telling the story and leaving people to decide works better? So he says in his organisation, he knows their social media person prefers organic stuff and fewer asks. So I don't know if you've got any opinions on that.
I think for me personally, I get that. I think we're very fortunate as a hospice that we have those real life situations and stories that we're able to share. So it is, for us, it can be a little bit of both. There is a call to action there, but it's also us sort of organically telling that story and just sharing that and sharing what families have done to support us, or, you know, their lovely stories. So I think it's a little bit of both. It depends very much on what it is that you're trying to promote. I'd say with In Memory, there's definitely that mixture of, okay, I'm telling you this story about this family who've created this tribute page, but also I think it's important you include that call to action, that actually if they want to go on and create their own, here's how you do it. But it's it's not as sort of direct as create your page here. You know, it's sort of intertwined into the story to make it a little more subtle, I would say.
And I would add, I agree with you, Kelly, as well. I think if it's campaign specific, I would prefer if the social media team includes the call to action in there and the link, just so that we can better track the performance of the campaign and we can, you know, see a better performance really. But if it is throughout the year and we're weaving in the IMEM sort of narrative, you know, then it can be just a gentle mention, a gentle ask. It doesn't need to feature a link. And because our social media team, they feel the same, Adam. I saw that it was your question, that they prefer not to have the asks in the organic posts.
Yeah, so I suppose it just depends what what strategies you've got, and whether it's organic or whether you've paid for might have a influence on that as well. You know, you might want a harder ask if you are paying for socials, more than the organically storytelling that Kelly tried and tested and was successful with. So there is another question here from Irene, and I'll take that, about do you recommend having different dedication pages for different campaigns? I would have different banners for the campaign so that it's a single focused campaign with single messaging, and the messaging relating to those pages are appropriate to your banner. I can see what you mean about keeping dedication, in one place, but if you're really promoting a campaign, then you really need those messages to be appropriate to what it is you're talking about, to what, and also you can track that campaign. It's much easier, and when the campaign's ended, you can have the results for that page specifically. That's my opinion. Some of you might want to mix it up, but I would think about keeping single focused on your campaign pages. So is there any more questions, or are you, is that good? Are we going to let Ollie and Kelly off the hook now?
Thanks for being kind to us.
No, some great questions and really, really great great responses, and Adam's just said that as well. So I'll just leave a summary page from Much Loved, because we've got an our top sort of tip. So I'm not going to go through them already, and it will be there for you when you look back on the webinar. But the key thing I'd say, just to leave you with and bear in mind, is that the 5 key principles for promoting tribute funds still apply to true to social media. So, focus on your supporter, talk about outcomes like you did, use real life examples when it's appropriate, especially in your hospice environment. I really can see why that would work really well. Events and activities, if you've got those fundraisers for you who are really keen to do your events and activities, get them promoted. And then your milestones and memories, lighting your candles, Christmas candles will be there, just remember that person, keep them centre to your campaigns. So I think that is everything. You've got lots of thank yous, so really thank you from Much Loved as well. Yeah,
thank you.
So we'll give you 5 minutes back to your day, everybody. And it's great that we've had such a great turnout. So lovely to see you all, and hope to see you soon.